If you've ever been told to just set a timer for 20 minutes to help you with procrastination, or if you've been a parent who's been told to use timers for your kids and you have found that it has completely backfired, well, this video is for you. Today, I'm going to be breaking down why some specific scenarios on where timers might be the worst possible tool that you can use, and I want to share with you a very interesting, subtle difference between timers and alarms and talk about a tool that you may be able to use instead. Now, I know I experienced this myself, both with me, where I was testing out one of the productivity techniques that people teach called the Pomodoro Technique that involves setting of timers. And it sounded logical, but I found timers don't work for me. Now, I also personally experienced this when my daughter was much younger, and a lot of parenting coaches and parenting books out there will tell you with young children to set timers to help them with transitions. Right. So maybe you've been taught, hey, if you're struggling to get your kid out the door in the morning on time, have a visual timer so that they can see, okay, the clock is, they don't even need to know how to read time yet, but they can see a countdown or a visual tool that allows them to know, when it hits this certain time, it's going to be time to go. And that this use of timers was supposed to help my daughter with transitions. Well, what I found was that timers completely backfired because with some people, such as my daughter, it put her into instant panic mode and triggered anxiety. So let's talk about the brain science of some actual neuroscience of why timers don't work for every person. Now, if you're someone that uses timers, uses the Pomodoro technique, or even your children thrive on timers, keep doing what you're doing. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But if you have found that timers have backfired, I want to share with you some of what may be happening inside of our brains when timers are set. Now, for some individuals, when they see a countdown timer going, it fuels them, it gets them excited, it puts them into let's go energy. For other individuals, when they see a countdown timer going, it actually starts to create a ton of pressure, which leads to anxiety. I know when I am hyper anxious about something, I am not going to do my best work. I am not going to be relaxed, calm, and confident. Now, another thing that can happen for certain brains when they see a timer is they start focusing on the timer itself, which means that now all they're doing is watching this timer. So let's talk about the two types here. For people that truly battle anxiety, which is my daughter, which is why timers did not work for them, countdown timers just equal deadline stress. You are taking someone that may already be feeling nervous about knowing they need to get out the door on time and now adding a ton of anxiety and stress on top of it. This is why it completely backfired for us with that morning trying to get out of bed and that transition to getting to school on time. Another category of people where timers can be complete hit or miss is if you struggle with executive functioning challenges. All right. So, for some people with executive functioning, timers serve to light a fire with them. For other people, what happens is they become hyper focused on the timer. So instead of thinking about the task at hand, now they're just zeroed in and watching this timer move. And there were some interesting studies done at the University of California, UCD, University of California, Davis, where they showed that the stress of perceived time pressure, which is what a timer can do, can actually lead to an increase in cortisol, which impairs your executive functioning and can actually make timers less effective or, in some cases, harmful for people where it's going to give that increased cortisol. Now, if you are watching this as an adult, you know if that's you, right? You know what a timer does to you. But what you may not know is you don't have the awareness of what's going on the inside with your child. So if you are seeing that timers are causing potential outbursts, meltdowns, etc., it's likely because you have a child where it is now increasing their poor cortisol levels, and now it's making what was already a tough situation even worse. Now, I want to share with you an interesting alternative that works in a lot of cases, but not all. I'm never going to give you something that I will say works for 100% of people. And it is understanding the difference between a timer versus an alarm. All right, so with a timer, essentially it is whatever tool you're using where you're seeing the countdown go, right? Think of an old school kitchen timer where you set it and you're hearing that tick, 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 right? You're watching time go away. Now, when you set an alarm, right? And I use alarms on my phone, I can set an alarm on my phone and then I walk away. I'm not watching the timer go. An alarm is just a, hey, here's going to be a audible reminder for you. So let's talk about this difference of what that would look like in implementation, right? So let's say it is 2 o'clock and you know you need to be doing something like something needs to happen at 2:30. Well, you could set a 30-minute timer and be stressing about watching it, or instead you could set an alarm for 2:30. All right, so when you set an alarm, here's what happens. There's no visible countdown anymore. You don't have that pressure clock ticking at you. There's nothing for your brain to watch. So now you can stay focused on what you're doing. All right, so if you're using it for yourself for work, you may be able to say, hey, I'm going to set an alarm for 2:30 and I'm just going to work on this task until the alarm goes off. You're not needing to check in. You're not having a designated outcome of what's going to happen at 2:30 either. You're just setting a check-in alarm with yourself. So when the alarm goes off, now it's like a check-in. All right. You're not watching time disappear. And so it works far better in terms of not having your cortisol levels go through the roof when you have the alarm set, right? Even think about it if you use an alarm to wake up in the morning, which I do most mornings except for the weekends, right? I'm not in a hyper state of anxiety all night just because my alarm is set. I'm like, no, my alarm's going to go off and remind me now it's time to do X, Y, or Z, as opposed to listening to you only have 8 hours to sleep and now this clock is ticking down for 8 hours all night long. That would be miserable. So let's talk through some practical applications of this alarm instead of timers. So if you're someone that battles procrastination, people will set timers, right? And you'll be like, okay, I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes. Well, instead, you could just say, I'm going to set an alarm for 20 minutes from now. And as soon as the alarm goes off, I can take a break, right? And you're not watching time go away. Now, when the alarm goes off, you can make a decision. Do I want to continue with what I was doing? Or is it time for me to take a break? You get to choose. Now, if you have a hard time focusing, right? And you're like, all right, I've just got to dig in and do this thing. If you set a timer, it's going to be hard to focus because, again, you're watching the timer move. There's nothing to watch when you set an alarm. So, again, the alarm then just becomes your awareness bell of like, hey, you can take a break now. If you're a parent, you may be thinking, okay, well, Megan, if I'm struggling with, getting my kid out the door on time, we need to leave at 8 a.m. Well, what you could do is, and this is what we shifted to, was know how much time, like when time comes to actually get in motion, how much time does your kid need to get their shoes on, go to the bathroom, do all that. So if I knew, hey, we're out the door at 8, I knew I would set an alarm for 7:50. And it was like, hey, when the alarm goes off, we have to stop what we're doing, go to the bathroom, get our shoes on, and head to the car. As opposed to what I was trying to do, which was at 7:30, setting a 30-minute timer of, okay, we got to get breakfast, we got to do this, we got to do that. And that just all it was doing was layering anxiety upon anxiety. Whereas what worked great for us at home was to say when the alarm goes off, we're going to the bathroom, we're getting our shoes, and we're getting our backpack. If timers have not worked for you, give alarms a try. Is this going to work for every single person? Of course not. But if you have someone that really struggles with high anxiety, layering visual or audible timers on may be a complete backfire. So the next time someone suggests, oh, if you're struggling with this, set a timer, and you know that that doesn't work for you, try setting an alarm and see what happens. Remember, friends, there is no one size fits all when it comes to productivity and time management advice. What matters most is finding the tools that work for you and then knowing when to implement.